Welcome to this explainer, Today we're diving into something deeply universal, but kind of invisible. We're talking about that very real, yet almost entirely unspoken grief we feel for the alternate timelines we never actually walked, and those past versions of ourselves we just can't reach anymore.
So how exactly do you mourn a life you never even lived? That's a heavy question, right? And it brings this very specific, very real kind of grief, but there's no funeral for it. You don't get an obituary, nobody's sending you a condolence card. There's really no socially sanctioned moment to just sit down and process the invisible weight of your own unlived potential. Well, today we're going to unpack exactly why that weight feels so incredibly heavy.
Section 1. Mourning the unlived life, the architecture of potential. Because, think about it, every single major choice we make is basically a fork in the road. That city you moved to, a career path you picked, a relationship you ended, heck, even a time you just stayed silent a little too long. The version of you who made the choice, well, you keep going. But that ghost of the person who could have been, the one who took that other path, they don't just vanish into thin air. Think about your own inventory of ghost selves. The version of you who said yes when you actually said no. The artist who kept the studio. The traveler who never came back home. Catching glimpses of these hypothetical lives in your peripheral vision isn't some delusion. It's actually a fascinating form of cognitive archaeology, where we're constantly sifting through the sediment of our own history to figure out what we buried and exactly why we buried it.
What we are really mourning is a self that existed only as potential, a ghost who was never born but somehow still haunts us. We always try to shrink this feeling down, We use words like nostalgia or regret or wistfulness. But honestly, those words are just too small for this. We are literally mourning a ghost.
Section 2. The science of almost. Why we are wired to miss what never was. Because this isn't just some poetic idea. This is deeply wired into our biology. Psychologists actually have a clinical term for this: counterfactual thinking. It's simply the human brain's natural tendency to imagine how things might have gone differently in the past. And knowing there's hard science behind this kind of validates the whole experience, doesn't it? When that heavy what-if feeling hits you out of nowhere at 3 a.m., it's not a random glitch. It's your nervous system literally, passionately insisting that this almost actually mattered.
And neurologically, this explains why it feels so intensely real. Let's compare how your brain processes reality versus potential. When your brain processes the memory of an event that actually happened compared to the imagination of one that almost happened, the results are shockingly similar. The memory of a kiss and the memory of a kiss that never came, they both leave actual neurological traces. They both trigger profound emotion. Because, to your brain, the line between what happened and what almost happened is incredibly blurry. That unlived life isn't locked away in some separate file cabinet of regret. It's woven right into the very same fabric as your actual life.
But here's the really cruel part of this grief. The unlived life exists only in the conditional tense. We are trying to mourn a self with no body, no name, and absolutely no tombstone. And because of that, we idealize the heck out of these ghost selves. We look at them from the outside and we imagine that alternate life as perfectly free from the slow disappointments, the rough mornings, and all the private hidden costs that come with actually living.
Section 3. The lost coordinates, the childhood home illusion. So we've talked about mourning a life we never lived, but what about mourning a past we did live?
Specifically, what happens when you return to coordinates that have completely, fundamentally lost their meaning? It's such a jarring, almost physical experience. You go back, you stand on the porch, you touch the actual door of your old address, but then this profound disorientation hits you. Because the place you're actually looking for, it's completely, irretrievably gone.
You're basically caught between two realities here. You've got the real home, the physical address you can drive to today, which exists but is fundamentally altered. And then you have the remembered home, a moment in time that lives vividly right in your chest. Both are true, right? But only one is actually available to you. Going back to the physical location feels almost violent because, well, the house didn't become the past just because someone changed the drywall or painted the living room. It became the past because you became the future. You grew in a direction that carried you away.
Home was never a location. It was a moment in time, wearing the costume of a place. I absolutely love that. Let that sink in for a second. When we remember our childhood home, we aren't remembering the architecture or the floor plan. We are remembering body-stored sensations. The specific way the light came through a window, the exact squeak of a floorboard, the smell of a kitchen that just meant total, absolute safety.
Section 4. The architecture of memory, reconstruction versus preservation.
So why do our attempts to revisit these past coordinates always, without fail, fall so short of our expectations? Well, think about why photographs fail us. You ever look at an old picture of your childhood home and feel absolutely nothing? It's because photographs are technically accurate, sure, but they're emotionally empty. They capture the surfaces. They show you exactly where the couch was, but they totally miss what that couch meant. A camera just doesn't have access to a 7-year-old's unlearned skepticism, absorbing the magic of the world with their entire nervous system.
There is actually this beautiful, highly specific word in Welsh that nails this nameless sadness. Hiraeth. It's a homesickness for a home to which you cannot return, or maybe a home that never even existed in the exact way your memory insists it did. It's a deep longing for the irretrievable.
And why didn't it exist exactly as we remember it? Because memory is essentially a renovation project. It doesn't just preserve, it actively reconstructs. Every time you recall your past, you reassemble fragments, you fill in the gaps with your current feelings, and you reshape the whole image to reflect who you are right now. Your remembered home has been lovingly maintained and upgraded in your mind into something way more coherent and beautiful than reality ever actually was. It's a living interpretation.
Section 5. The resolution. Searching as an act of love. Because whether you're looking forward at ghost selves or looking backward at lost coordinates, the core phenomenon happening inside you is exactly the same.
What we call homesickness is actually a longing for a past self. You aren't really longing for a physical building. You're longing for that specific, innocent version of yourself who lived inside those walls, before the accumulating weight of choices and years and losses completely altered you. We're searching for the echo of that innocence, lingering in the plaster and the floorboards.
To mourn what never was is, in the end, an act of love. We don't find those past selves in the floorboards, of course, but here is the massive reframe for all this confusing grief. Honoring these unlived lives and unvisitable pasts isn't a failure. It's not a detour. The searching itself is beautiful. It is a form of fidelity to your own life. It's yourself insisting on the impossible richness and complexity of a single human journey. It means that child in the doorway still matters.
Hold them gently. Seriously, don't try to frantically resolve this grief or numb the wonder of what might have been. All those selves, the ones you were and the ones who almost were, they've earned at least that much. But I want to leave you with this final thought. If your brain is willing to spend this much incredible energy building and grieving alternate timelines of your past, what completely unlived, spectacular hypothetical future is it subconsciously building for you right now? Keep that question with you.